VC. Today we're discussing the Blue Note 80th and Classic series, sort of how those series came to be, the quality of the records, the quality of the mastering, which ones to buy, so much and so forth. So the Blue Note Classic series started, or Blue Note 80th Anniversary series started in 2000 and I think it was 2019, might have been 2018, and they have this little hype sticker in the corner that says 180 gram mastered from the original analog tapes, and with the 80 and Blue Note. This is Kenny Dorham's Trompeta Toccata. There was also records in that series like Freddie Hubbard's Hub Tones and Kenny Dorham's Una Mas. The majority of these were stereo pressings because Joe Harley of Music Matters Jazz and now the Tone Poet and other Blue Note series, although he doesn't directly oversee the Classic series, has always preferred stereo pressings. Now here's another excellent, one of the best Blue Note records around, Cannibal Adderley's Something Else. This is the new label for the Blue Note Classic series, and it gives a little more information. They really hype up the audiophile and audiophile vinyl reissues from the finest jazz since 1939. And then in blue, mastered from the original analog tapes and mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio and manufactured at Optimal on 180 gram vinyl. These are what I think this series brings is the best value for money in hi-fi at the moment and in vinyl records. Now this is the label. I'll bring in some close-up shots, perhaps lace them in here. Now, this series started as almost a more affordable companion to the Tone Poet series. And with the Tone Poets, you get the gatefolds, you get the pressed at RTI, mastered by Joe Harley and Kevin Gray. They're essentially a Music Matters Jazz release at roughly $35. Now, after the much sort of heavily criticized Blue Note 75th Anniversary series, which used digital masterings by Bernie Grunman and Alan Yoshida, I believe, those were pretty panned by a lot of the audiophile community and a lot of jazz fans as well, because not only did they use digital mastering, but I believe they were pressed at either Rainbow or United record pressings. And yeah, United pressings, just at the time, the quality control was really poor on those Blue Note 75th issues. They did come in at $19.99, so they were a very, very good bargain. But there was the pressing issue. If you were in Canada like I am, or perhaps the European Union, they did have German pressed Blue Note 75ths, which were better quality, but at the time, Music Matters Jazz, you could still get them at affordable prices, which is another label started by Joe Harley and Ron Rombach. They used the entirely original Blue Note master tapes in the sort of deluxe gatefold jacket now that Tone Poet uses, and they were, $45 to $60. They were relatively affordable, and they were just kicking Blue Note 75's ass in terms of quality and in terms of what jazz fans really wanted, which was the original master tapes and great audiophile pressings. Now, this was sort of corrected in many ways come 2019 with the Tone Poet series, where Don wanted essentially everything that Music Matters Jazz was famous for: the gatefolds, RTI pressings, the sound. So he hired Joe Harley essentially as a consultant away from Music Matters, and Joe Harley agreed to do it only if he could use Kevin Gray as the mastering engineer, RTI as the pressing plant, Stoughton Jackets for the jackets, and could do it, sort of oversee it and be part of the mastering process, do it his way, and really not be repeating titles from Music Matters. He wanted to do other Blue Note tapes, sort of lesser known, hidden gems, things that were off the beaten path. And Don Was agreed. And that really, honestly, that series changed jazz reissues as we know it today. Because now we have the Contemporary Records Verve and Impulse series. We have Contemporary Record... It changed jazz reissues as we know it today. Now we have the Acoustic Sounds Contemporary series, Acoustic Sounds Verve and Impulse series, Blue Note Classics, Tone Poet. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything from Sony Columbia's side of things yet, but I hope to see some of their classic vinyl reissues come out in a more consistent manner. And this is one of the newest Blue Note Classics, Destination Out by Jackie McLean. Back cover there. They come in a sort of flimsy kind of sleeve jacket. I believe these retail for $22 to $25 US. Now there is issues with Amazon playing sort of pricing games. Now if you do wait a couple months, you typically can get these back down at retail price. If we want to compare these to the Blue Note Tone Poet, here's one of the earlier ones they did. Introducing Kenny Burrell, a monumental jazz guitarist. Highly recommend all of his records. As you can see, it's a gatefold style like Music Matters Jazz. Stoughton tip-on jacket. Excellent packaging. And this is one of the few mono Tone Poets they've done. I haven't bought every release, so I'm sort of out of the loop on what they've done in the last little while. But you see the 33 1/3 micro groove label to indicate mono. And these were, for all intents and purposes, other than the titles they were choosing, were a facsimile of Music Matters. And Music Matters did a lot of crap with their pricing, and now those records are almost unobtainable for the average person. Even on Music Matters site itself, Music Matters has since lost the right to, I think, press Blue Note records, so now whatever they have left is over $129 retail, and those were originally $40, those records. The SRX titles they have left, which are pressed on like a similar MoFi type of super vinyl, are over $150. So, and the secondary market even higher. And here for comparison, here's a Blue Note 80th reissue. You see the 80th hype sticker there. This is another one of the best Blue Note records. Excellent Art Blakey's Moanin', excellent jazz drums record. See, very flimsy cover, but for all intents and purposes, you know, mastered by Kevin Gray. Absolutely impeccable sound. And for the money, really unbeatable. Now, these came out originally as the Blue Note 80th anniversary series, like I mentioned before. Mastered by Kevin Gray. And they were just announced as sort of a limited, not a limited run, but a limited number of titles. A lot of, you know, really expensive Blue Notes, and so, quite a few mono pressings like Jitta Hip and Zoot Sims, which is like a few $1,000s in original mono pressing. So for $22 to $25, it was unbelievable. And the series proved to be so popular that they decided to continue it as the Blue Note Classic series. Now, this was sort of a workaround and a way for Blue Note to redo those Music Matters jazz titles, but without Joe Harley's involvement, in a way that they could still offer them as a way audiophiles and casual buyers would love. So now the series is still ongoing. It's absolutely incredible what they've been able to do with it to really get a lot of those out of print classic classic, stone cold classic Blue Notes in the hands of consumers, jazz fans, new fans, because that's what we want, right? As people who love the art form and love the music, we want to grow, and we want people to hear these legendary recordings and just be able to love them and cherish them as we have. Now, it hasn't all been perfect. I definitely had my fair share of issues with the first couple of Blue Note Classic titles they released in terms of defects and scratches. Now, these aren't pressed at Record Technology Inc. These are pressed at Optimal in Germany, which is a good pressing plant, but in recent years it's had a few misses. They did do the famous Beatles in Mono series, which I will cover in another video, but I think I needed 3 copies of this guy before I found one that actually was like defect free. So if you are buying them, keep in mind I would recommend purchasing them from somewhere that has a generous return policy. I mean, you never know. I've heard horror stories of Amazon mistreating records and stuff like that. And you never know what you're also getting from the pressing plant, what happens in transit. So I highly recommend you get them from a place where that has hassle-free returns, where you're not going to... So that's all I have for now. And next video, we're going to talk about the Beatles in Mono series and sort of the crazy demand that has happened from that. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you again next time, BC.